Hello there folks, I thought it was about time I give you an update on what I'm up to as far as the teaching English situation is, and it's about a week ago since I told you that I'd managed to get my TEFL, and I've certainly in that time done a lot of research and a lot of work on the progress of getting a teaching position, so I'll tell you about it. But I realised that I hit a snag very early on in that, once again caused by this terrible pandemic. Because of a lot of teachers currently out of work, there's an absolute glut of tutors that applying to work online. And although there's a huge market for online tuition, it's pretty various popular schools and platforms in difficulty with going through the selection processes, etc., and recruiting tutors, and there's a backlog. And one or two of the parties I actually applied for, they said that their applications at this moment in time they were not accepting any, and please check back in due course. So that was the first hiccup that I could see in the plans to become an English teacher online for foreign students at the age of 72. So, but anyway, there's a lot happened besides that, and I'll let you know now what's going on. If you're interested, please keep watching. Hello again. Well, starting my research, I could see that there was very good earnings could be made, particularly once you were established in online teaching, and there was a lot of benefits to it. You know, you can work whatever hours you wish to work, and how many hours you wish to work a week, and you can work from wherever you want. That's the big draw to it that attracts so many online tutors. But when I started analysing it and looking at the various schools and platforms, etc., and I'll explain the difference between schools and platforms in a moment, but when I started looking at it, each has got varied requirements for teaching online, and they're not all the same. So we have to consider what is required if you're going to be, particularly if you're planning on travelling the world and just doing it from your hotel rooms, etc., off your laptop or your iPad. There is certain obstacles. A lot of them tell you what backgrounds you need behind you, the school backgrounds, and you may need whiteboards and magnetic boards, etc., where you can stick stars to. If your children, if you're teaching children, if they get questions right, you can give them stars and give them applause and make them feel good. And the children ones, the particular aspect that I'm thinking of, because also they want you to have a lot of aids in that, hand puppets, so you can talk to your hand puppets and have your hand puppets talk to your pupils, have fluffy toys, and have various things with you to entertain the children and make their lessons fun, which makes my mind boggle a little bit when I think of a lot of these pretty young English teachers that I see teaching English from various locations in the world, travelling the world with a suitcase of fluffy toys and hand puppets and some school teaching aids. I don't think it's as easy as it sounds. Okay, let me go on to the question about what are schools and what are platforms. Well, schools, online schools, tend to want a very high degree of experience, and certainly in the majority of cases, not all, but in the majority of cases, they want you to have a bachelor's degree in some ology at least. Doesn't have to be teaching, but some ology or whatever, and a teaching qualification like the TEFL. And then they will consider you for working for the schools. Now they have their own curriculum, and they ask you to work to their curriculum and use their lesson plans, etc. So it's a much more regimented affair if you work for them. Although you can still work as many hours as you want, what hours you want, they will fix all that out for you. But it's a much more regimented affair, and not only that, the big thing about it is it's actually a little bit better paid as well. So that's the schools. Now, when I talk about a platform, I'm talking about organisations that have set up similar to a school. They're recruiting students and they're recruiting tutors, but for many of them, the importance of having a degree, a bachelor's degree, is not so important, and you can get away with having there's one or two of them that don't ask you to have any qualifications or any experience, and it's up to you whether you register or not. However, the majority of them do ask for at least a formal qualification in the TEFL, and they do ask if you've had some teaching experience in any particular aspect, not necessarily in the English language. I was kind of fortunate in that regards, because I have done a lot of teaching in the past for engineers and various other people. So I do have teaching experience, but not in the English language. So I met that criteria anyway. Now, the application and entry process for both platforms is very, very similar actually for both platforms and schools, and the only difference being is the degree qualification really, and that is that you've got to make the application and then fill in all sorts of pertinent information about yourself, what qualifications you have, what experience you might have, etc. And you've also got to make an introductory video to amplify your verbal skills, etc., and let them see if you can present yourself in a video in a suitable fashion. And that's not quite as easy as you think, and it takes a little bit of practice. I found out how best to do it in the end, and I will make another video about that in due course. But it took a lot of thought and a lot of work, and I've probably made about 6 or 7 videos, and after a while I've thought about it and changed it and improved, and I hope I've improved it. And what I'll do is I'll play my current video, I'll play that for you now, so please stay with us. And here's my video now. Hello, my name is Sandy, and I enjoy helping other people to achieve their ambitions and goals and making a success in their life. Do you want that perfect job, but you're worried about the interview, or maybe you're even worried about your resume? Hey, don't worry, we can do that together. We can work on that. Is passing an exam a worry for you? Maybe the ESL citizenship exam, for example. Don't worry about it, let's just work on it and we'll get through that together. I am happy to help with that, and I have done so many times in the past with many people. Maybe you're about to take an IELTS test, or you're planning on taking one, and you want to try and make sure you get good grades. If you do get good grades, then that opens up the world in all sorts of ways, in immigration, in schools, in universities, and jobs. It isn't difficult, it just takes a little bit of ambition and a little bit of work, and I'm happy to help you with that also. Or maybe you just want to talk better English. Maybe you want a better vocabulary, more words in your vocabulary, and you want to be able to communicate and understand what people are saying. That's another thing that we can work on, the general English ability. So whatever your goals, I can help you get there. No stress, no fuss, just sure and steady progress. That's what we want. I have many years teaching experience, teaching to all sorts of people all over the world at various levels. I like to teach in a relaxed, friendly and fun way where stress is kept out of the equation. I find that the most successful way to help people learn their way through the subject. So if you're looking for assistance, why look further? I have time for you now. Why not book a trial lesson? If you do that, then we can talk together and we can discuss your requirements and we can work on them together. And I'm sure we can be together, we can be a very successful team and achieve what you are trying to achieve. And I would enjoy that too. So thank you for watching my video, and I hope very much to be speaking to you soon. Bye for now. So continuing with the application process, I think to date I have probably applied for about 6 or 7 different platforms and schools, and from those applications I've had 2 rejections virtually right away. The first was from one that's only teaching children, and I think I really, although they would never admit it, I really do think that my age factor was an aspect that they weren't prepared to accept. And when I pressed the submit button, within about 10 seconds I got an answer back saying they wouldn't be proceeding with my application. Fair enough, it's better to know that, and I don't blame them for that. The other rejection I got is a bit more interesting, because that was for a school in Russia, teaching online English to Russian people. Now then, what went wrong there? It seemed to be going very, very well actually. I went through the application process and I put in a video, and then something out of the blue they hit me with was an immediate AI, an automatic type interview, and they started asking me to record videos and answer certain questions, etc., within a certain time period. And even that, it definitely threw me. I wasn't expecting it, and I think most of it went okay, except there was one question. It was a very simple question actually, but not being prepared for the question, and not having really time to think too much about it. The question was, explain in general terms what the difference is between must and have to. Oh, well, my mind sort of started whizzing around between must and have to, and I started talking about, well, must probably makes it an obligation or mandatory that it has to be done, where have to can be quite different actually. You have to do it, but there's no requisite to, or mandatory requisite to do it, or whatever. And I think I barbled on a bit too much with that, and I'm kind of sure that's where it went wrong, because they said in general terms explain the difference. And after the interview finished, and I looked up that particular question on the internet. It's quite a popular question apparently. The answer was very similar to what I'd given, but in much more general and easy to understand terms. And I think that's why actually it was strange, because the next day I got a message from the school saying, thank you for your application, you've been successful, and can you please log on to this site to answer some other relevant questions. So I thought, wow, well, I didn't really expect to pass that, but good that I did actually. And I logged on, or I tried to log on, and I tried to log on with various, I just couldn't get logged on to the site using the password and the username that I'd registered with. And I sent them emails to say, look, I can't log on, etc. Can you please advise what I have to do to get logged on? And this went on for about 2 or 3 days, and I wasn't getting any response from them. And then all out of the blue, an email came saying, thank you for your application to us, and I'm sorry to inform you that we will not be progressing with this any further. Okay, that's what I'd expected in the first instance. So that was the second rejection. Well, regarding the applications I've made, I've been lucky and fortunate that one I've already been accepted for, and it seems pretty good. And there's several applications that I've made where I'm under consideration, and I fully expect, from what I read, 1 or 2 of them to be successful in due course as well. But they all state that because at this time with the pandemic again, that applications are taking a bit longer to process. So anyway, I've been successful with one, so I'm now registered with them, and my profile is online actually, and it's been so for about 4 days now. I believe my profile has been online as a teacher, and I've done a lot of research into how to teach and who I want to teach. Now, there's various aspects about that. How to teach, right? I've been looking at a lot of online teachers and English teachers online, etc. And the first thing I've got to say is, becoming a teacher is not easy. It's certainly not easy. And when I first had this concept, I thought, okay, I'm relatively good at English. I think I can probably teach it. When I watch some of these professional, most of them ladies online, I have to say, that have done videos on YouTube about teaching English online or teaching English and all the various aspects, as well as most of them being very, very pretty, they're also very, very professional. And you can see where their experience and their education, etc., comes into play, and they really know what they're doing. So that put a big onus on me then. Well, if they are doing it that good, there's no way I'm ever going to attain that in a very short period of time. So I owe it to myself not to look a complete buffoon when I start. So I started doing a lot of research and looking at various aspects of teaching, and there is a lot more to it than you might believe. The first thing was, who do I want to teach? Well, I certainly don't want to teach young children. I know that, and it's definitely not my style, and I think it's a very difficult thing to do actually, because it takes a particular character and a particular attitude to be able to go along with these youngsters, etc. So I've decided that probably the prime market for me would be about 15 years old, going into serious secondary education, to adults who are looking at business English or university, etc., etc. Then I can certainly see that I can assist greatly in there, and that is now my target market. So I've sorted that out. Fortunately, the school that I'm with, they let you state who you want to teach and who you don't want to teach, and I haven't volunteered to teach children, but I think it was secondary school onwards, I've said I will. So it actually starts from 13, I think, onwards through to adults. And they ask you what subjects you want to teach, and I said business English, progression of English vocabulary and grammar, and 2 or 3 other aspects actually. So that's been quite successful that way. So that's all done. Okay, then the other big positive thing about this site I'm with is that you don't have to. You can do as many hours a week as you want, or as little or as many as you want, and it's up to you. And if you're wanting to work full time, you can actually make a decent living of it, I believe, once you're established. Many people do actually, and I see it come highly recommended by various people on YouTube. But being that I'm brand new to the game, and I've registered on the site, and I've got no experience, and I've said I've got no experience of online teaching English, although I have said that I've got experience of teaching. I haven't had any experience on this platform, so my experience is 0, and any recommendations and feedback from students is 0 as well. Now, once I'd passed the entry criteria, then you got to fill in all sorts of things, what hours you're prepared to work, and etc. And they tell you the best hours for your area of the world. Like I'm here in Thailand, they told me the best times for me of the day will be from 5 o'clock in the morning till 8:30 in the morning, and from 6 o'clock at night till midnight, because a lot of the students will be Chinese, and that's the time that they're going to, before they go to school or after they come back from school. Although during the day there is a possibility to pick up students from other parts of the world. But seeing what they said, I thought, okay, I'll follow their advice, and I marked my week off into the times that they said were the top criteria. I've got a nasty fly flying around here. The ones that they said, the times that they said would be most advantageous, and I said, okay, I'll start at 5 o'clock each morning, I'll work through to 9 o'clock, and I'll start again at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'll work through to 10 o'clock at night, and that was fine. And I also put in a lunchtime thing of 2 hours as well, just in case it helped. So my profile went up, and then they asked me what rate of what did I want to be paid per hour. Well, I saw that a lot of experienced people were asking $18 to $22 an hour, which is not too bad actually, I believe. But when I went to fill in my rate, it said, there was a help hint that came up, as you're new and you've got no references or experiences there, we would recommend an amount of around $12 an hour to start with, which should help attract students at that lower rate for a native English speaker. So okay, if that's what they advised, that's what I went for, $12 an hour. It's important to get the experience. I saw one guy on there, a professor actually, a professor of enology, once again nothing to do with teaching, but a professor of enology who wanted to offer online teaching, nothing to do with his PhD, online teaching of English, and he was wanting to charge $46, nearly $50 an hour for his teaching. Well, if he gets 2 or 3 of them a day, then he's doing pretty good actually, isn't he? And he's only doing 3 hours work, but I don't think I could ask for that, and I don't think anybody would pay me that anyway. So that was me set up, and it was up running, and I thought, okay, if I'm going to start getting students pretty quickly, I need to get more into it. And the platform I'm with, they had a lot of useful courses, and they asked me to do 3 acquaintance type courses on their methodology, on their classroom facilities, because you do it on there. You can do it on any level actually. You can do it on Skype, or you can do it on Zoom, but they have their own class area where you can do it on their site, and they recommend that because it makes easy access for all their lesson plans, which they provide, etc., and you can choose what lesson plans you want to give. But it's important to these lessons that they offer shows you the method, the way to do it, and how the lesson plans worked, how to address the students, how to get your first lesson, many things like that. And the third and last one was about the classroom, how the classroom works, how you put your materials out in the classroom, etc., how you can pull them up and put them off and converse with the student and make notes and all sorts of things like that. And it was very interesting actually. It was very interesting, but it's not straightforward. And it's something, after I've done this video today, I'll be going through that particular aspect again, because it's probably the most critical part of teaching a student. You've got to know what you're doing on the computer. If you don't know how your classroom works, then how can you expect the student to have any faith in what you're telling them? So I will be doing that at least another once or twice today, and maybe again tomorrow, etc. But till I'm fully familiar with the classroom anyway. But anyway, going back, my profile has now been online for it was online for 3 days, and I got an email from the platform that I'm registered on saying we'd like to make a suggestion, because there is a lot of experienced tutors online at the moment, and we noticed that although you've had a fair amount of people looking at your profile, none of the students have actually registered with you for a lesson yet, and we believe that's because of your price and the obviously large selection that they have to choose from. So they said, but we can almost guarantee you that if you dropped your rate by at least $2, then you're going to start getting students that want to book lessons with you. They said they've looked at my video, they liked my video, they looked at all the information I give, they said, oh, that's fine. They said, so they can virtually guarantee that if I drop my rate a little bit, I should start getting students. So yesterday I dropped it to $10 anyway, and that was yesterday lunchtime. And as far as up to today's concerned, this time today, it's now about 2 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon, the next day. Still no bookings as yet. But what happened is last night I'm having a beer, and I'm looking at some of these YouTube videos of people that are working on the same platform as me, and a lot of these people were from the Philippines and other foreign countries, and they were working for $5 an hour. Now you've got to consider that when you start, and when you start getting your first few bookings, you're paying 33% of your earnings back to the platform that you're working for. And then the more students you get and the more hours you get, the money you've got to give them, the interest, the percentage level of what you earn drops, goes down to, eventually, once you get to a certain stage, is down to 22%. Now, I have no complaints with that, because they're a very well-organized organisation. I think they're based in London, actually, and they certainly put a lot of work and effort and expense into getting the site up and running, and I think what they're asking is more than adequate, and they seem to be prepared to give you all sorts of support and backup, so that's fine. But these people that are working for $5 an hour from Philippines, Manila, and Egypt and South Africa, I watched some of them. Now, some of them, their English wasn't, for native speakers, their English wasn't actually so good, and I don't think their presentation was that good either. So maybe, but what they did have is that they could come. I believe that if they were studying, like the Filipinos, if they were teaching English to Filipinos, then they could explain more in their local tongue, although English is widely spoken in the Philippines. They could speak more in the local tongue as well, the problems, and give them the explanations. So it was that's what makes them advantageous, and they seem quite happy to be working for this $5 an hour. But every one of them said that they hoped in due course they'd be able to increase that up to $6 or $7. Well, I would want to increase it a bit more than that, I think, but anyway. So last night, after I've been watching these videos, I'm thinking, okay, wait to see what happens this morning. And when I didn't get anything this morning, I thought, right, okay, let's bite the bullet and take the bull by the horns. And today I've dropped my rate to $8 an hour. So I'm going to get just over $5, $5.4 or something like that an hour for each hour I do. And the other commission that this platform takes is that your very first student, who they join you for an hour's learning, introduction video first, introduction lesson, and from there, if they like what they hear and they like what they see, then they will book further lessons. Well, although they pay for that lesson, the tutor gets nothing from it. The platform takes 100% of that, and that's for the organisation that goes behind making sure that the student gets all the necessary support as well for his first lesson. So once again, I think that's got to be accepted. Now, on that, I think just a bit further on that, I think that although the earnings aren't great, to me they're not great, but they're adequate considering what I'm doing, and I'm trying to do something that I've never done before, and I'm trying to get experience. Well, unless I get students, unless I start giving lessons, then I'm not going to get the experience, and I'm not going to be able to improve and go further. So I think if I can get $8 a lesson, then I do that for a month or two and see how it's going and get the experience. And they say to me, everybody says that once you start getting lessons, it builds up quite quickly. I saw one lady who was a proper school English teacher that joined the same platform, and she was waxing lyrical about this platform I'm on, saying how good it was. Now, when she joined, albeit she's fully qualified, a very presentable lady, and knows her stuff. Well, she said that after registering and being online for 48 hours, she started getting bookings, and after 4 days she had to switch her profile off because she had over 20 students booked, and she was getting worried if she could actually manage these or not. And she left it off for a few days till she worked on the backlog and got it going. So I don't expect to be that lucky, but we'll see how it goes anyway, and that's the interesting part that's still to come, and I'll keep you informed. So what do I think about my chances? Well, let's look at what students are looking for. If they're young students at secondary school, etc., and their finances are limited, they're going to be looking at several aspects. One, the first thing they're going to look at, how much is it going to cost for me to have this guy for an hour? They maybe not be able to afford $12 to $20 an hour. And they're also going to want someone with experience, someone who's probably had some students and had some recommends, etc. So that's going to be their key aspects when they're looking at the various tutors on offer. And there's literally a couple of thousand of them that they can look through. So I've got to look at what they're going to see about me and what they're going to think about my video. And on that, by the way, if you watch that video, please give me your comments and any suggestions and any help. It's greatly appreciated on what you think about that video. Maybe you can see something that I'm doing wrong and I can improve it again, because that's what's going to get me there, is getting that right. They say that the video is the most critical aspect, actually, and if you watched it, please give me your comments below, and that'd be much appreciated. But what I think about my chances are, I think I've watched other people's personal videos, and to be truthful, a lot of the foreign ones, I'm not terribly impressed with. I certainly feel that what I've written and my video is better than what they're presenting, and it'd be much more attractive to a real student to get somebody like myself on board. Age shouldn't come into it. It's experience and what you've done in the past that's important. So we're going to see how that goes, and I think I've probably rambled on enough just now. So, but you know where I am, and on the line along, and we'll see what happens in the next 2 or 3 days with regards to getting students, and I'll keep you updated and informed on how it's going. I'm certainly a little bit concerned, I would say, about that first lesson and getting that under my belt and getting it all right for that first lesson. If I do that and then I can move on from there, then that will be the next major hurdle that I've covered, and I'll be a bit happier then. But that certainly, I'm doing a lot of work at meeting that particular aspect at the moment, and I'll continue to do so. So, I hope you found this interesting, and those that are following the story, and if you haven't done, please subscribe and give me the thumbs up, etc. If you know anybody that's thinking about teaching online, let them see this, because it may be of interest to them as well. Thank you again for watching, and stay safe by all means. Stay safe by any way you can, whether it's through vaccines or isolation, whatever. Here in Thailand it's not going so well, but I don't want to talk about that just now. There's too many people talking about it. Take care. Bye for now. Thanks again. Bye.